Okay, guys, so we just saw a bunch of Spider-Man news, and I don't know, as much as the hype is showing that people, or at least from my understanding, seem positive about it, we're kind of a little bit scared. So here we're just gonna express.
Speak for yourself, man. I'm excited.
Oh, okay.
I'm very
Well,
scared.
glad.
I'm very scared.
I am neutral. I have no opinion.
Interesting. Well, let's start with the positives. Scott, explain your excitement for this news, which...
I mean, the news so far has just been cast updates, right? So we know that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are returning for the next Spidey movie, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also know Doc Ock is returning. Anybody else?
We have Jamie
Jamie
Foxx,
Foxx
Electro
as
returning.
Electro.
I heard that the girl who's playing Mary Jane from the Tobey Maguire series.
Kristen
interesting.
Dunst and
She's-
Gwen Stacy from the Amazing Spider-Man.
Wait, is she gonna
Gotcha.
reprise her role?
Yeah,
They're
they
As
said
most
Gwen?
likely. They're most likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is obviously going to be like something to do with the multiverse. So it's going to be a similar scenario, or not scenario necessarily, but similar scheme to what happened in the other Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, into the Spideyverse.
The
basically.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to actually be. I mean, like.
I was like, they're gonna have like a
What?
middle-aged woman play a teenager.
Yeah, what else can they do? So the reason I'm excited is because I just want to see Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man again, and I wouldn't mind seeing Andrew Garfield be Spider-Man again as well. Those are my main two reasons I'm excited. I just want to see like them being Spider-Man again.
Yeah. Do you want to go OC or I go first? Because we both have pretty strong different opinions about this.
Yeah, just to, I too am excited at the idea of seeing Tobey Maguire again. And I mean, he's my favorite Spider-Man. So yeah, of course I loved the idea, but it makes me nervous that you could go ahead.
Okay, I guess this is where, here's my thing about this, right? Again, in terms of like, ideas and like, concepts and stuff like that, where Spider-Man, like this whole idea of the Spideyverse happening, seeing our favorite Spider-Mans. I mean, I don't hate Andrew Garfield, but he's not my favorite, but I still thought he was pretty good, and seeing all the other actors and stuff, this is cool. But my issue, and I think the concern that OC may have as well, is just when you think about what was left off in the previous one, it just seems like this is such an unnecessary thing to do for that story. And I'm not a big fan of like, I mean, as much as I love like little Easter eggs and homages to these new or to the original ones, it just seems like the way they're hyping it up, it seems like they might play a major plot. And I'm not a big, I don't feel like, as much as these are cool ideas, but I don't feel like it's necessary. And that's kind of the problem that at least I'm having with it, where it just seems like they're putting too much, like.
I mean, I think about it this way: if they can make the story, if they can integrate each character into the story in a good way, it's from where Far From Home left off, I'd be happy about it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, well, going off of where Far From Home left off, I think it's important to focus there for a little bit, because for me, the best part of Far From Home was the ending.
Yeah,
I remember that.
We
were
all
watching
remember
it.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
And
You freaked out.
I freaked out because part of the reason that I was so excited was because it set up perfectly the essentially the meetup with Spider-Man and Daredevil, and that whole storyline. It's perfect. And that's one of the things we didn't mention, is also that Daredevil is also reported to be in Spider-Man 3 as well. And so for me, like personally, that's one of my favorite Spider-Man stories, is him teaming up with Daredevil. I was super excited for that, but then now it feels like there's so many things going on. I would have felt better if they had just focused in on like, hey, this is a Spider-Verse movie, or hey, this is a Spider-Man and Daredevil movie. But now it feels like all of a sudden they're trying to mash all of these things together, and it doesn't sit well with me that it's happening right after Spider-Verse happened. Like they're like, oh, okay, I see it worked for Sony when they were doing it by themselves. Let's just try it with us, Marvel Studios. We could probably do the same thing.
Well, technically it's Marvel and Sony, but I see what you're saying.
No, Spider-Verse was just Sony. Spider-Verse was just Sony.
But I'm talking about the Spider-Man 3 is technically it's Sony.
Yeah,
with Marvel,
this is Marvel and Sony. So
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But
OC's point is that they're doing it again, like very soon. So it almost seems like a ripoff, right?
Well, not just that. It also feels like it doesn't feel properly built up. Like it just like to me, it just seems like the way it came about was like, first of all, it didn't seem like they planned it. It seemed like it was sort of like even when the news came out, it seems like they had the ideas of like, let's just have these small little characters here. And now all of a sudden they're like, you know what? Screw that. How about we have, why don't we do that whole, Andrew Garfield meets, Tobey Maguire meets,
Okay.
It just seems like it was just this big.
I'll tell you what. If it's like what happened in the DC mashup for the TV show, where each person just gets a cameo, I will be upset.
Oh,
I would just be very,
I doubt that's
very
going to be
upset.
like that. I feel like they're going to play a major plot. Like it's not going to be.
I
just
hope
a cameo.
so.
But my issue again just goes back to it just doesn't feel. Number one, it doesn't feel earned. But number two, it just feels like. For me, one of the biggest gripes or criticisms. I mean, I love the Tom Holland series. But I always felt like it never stand on its own, just because it had to reference something about the Avengers or Iron Man. And this movie would have been that one moment where it could have been its own kind of thing.
Yeah.
But now it's like, well, now we have the other things coming into this. So it's just
that's
so
a very
you
good
want like a
point.
standalone Spider-Man movie?
for its third trilogy, yes. Now, if they wanted, again, like, the idea of this whole Spideyverse, I'm not against that. Like, it would have been cool if that was its own movie, like OC said. But for this to be in its Tom Holland series, the third one is this mix of all these other ones. It just seems like, well, can it at least have its own movie, you know?
Yeah.
Not to mention,
How about this?
like, the villain, too. Sorry.
Oh, what do you mean for villain?
Oh, okay. I was about to say, because originally I heard the main villain for the third one, and he's probably still going to be part of it, was, what's his name? I think it's Rhaegar? Or, it's that bounty hunter villain, right? If I'm correct. That was, like, originally planned, right? So...
Craven?
I think it's Craven, if I'm correct. So my thing about that is, like, I'm pretty sure he's still going to be in it. I don't know if they're going to change it. I don't know if this was just a rumor or whatever. But just the fact that, you know, we're having multiple villains. I don't know about you, but every Spider-Man movie that had multiple villains never did well. I'm just saying.
Interesting.
Think about it. Like,
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3 had multiple villains. In the original one, that wasn't great. The one with the Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2 had multiple villains.
How about Into the Spider-Verse?
That's a different one, but even then, it's like that one was more Into Spider-Verse.
You had Kingpin. You had
That's a different. To me,
Prowler.
that's different because that was more. Again, that focus was more. That was more. Yeah, that was meant to be a focus of multiple villains. So it made sense to some degree.
Yeah, but I mean, what makes it different? I suppose, you know, because like I understand everything you're saying, and to a certain extent, I agree.
Yeah.
But as just to play devil's
That's fair.
advocate,
They always play devil's
and
advocate. It's fair.
counter your points.
Yeah.
One, Into the Spider-Verse never necessarily earned that like build up to the other collection of Spider-Man.
I think I will say that the special thing about Spider-Verse is that it was animated.
Well,
and so
not to mention
suspension of disbelief is easier to do in that kind of medium. But yeah, go ahead.
Not to mention the focus of Into the Spider-Verse was supposed to be that. Like, Into the Spider-Verse is a movie about like the title itself says Into the Spider-Verse, as in it's supposed to be multi-dimensional. Do we know
the new title of Spidey 3?
No, but even then, the fact that we're going through this is meant to be this Peter Parker and his whole story and his universe.
I get you.
That's my thing. Like, again, I'm not against this idea. Like, if this wasn't Spider-Man 3 and this was something else and we had this, that would have been more, again, feel earned, and I would have, like it. But
I mean, like, truthfully, you guys have mentioned it already. It's Spider-Man has always been like a sort of a character throughout his movies, has been a character that is intertwined with the universe. So for Spider-Man 1, Iron Man was in it, and then for Spider-Man 2, Nick Fury, or at least like a pretend version of Nick Fury, was in it. So to me it's like he's never had that opportunity. You said it yourself. He's never had the opportunity to be a standalone in his own movie.
In this movie,
and this is just following up, you know?
Yeah, it is. But see, originally it was supposed to be Doctor Strange. That was supposed to be the person, which he is still in this movie. But now it's not just Doctor Strange. It's like all these other people, and it's just like,
do you guys know who the director is for this new movie?
I think it's the same one.
Same as the previous ones? And then also, do you guys know if this timeline is after Endgame or before?
This is going to be after. I mean, I don't know if they're going to go back in time with the other previous Spider-Mans, but it's definitely after.
It's 100% after. Okay. For like at least it wouldn't make sense to go back in time.
Wait, did you see the second one, Christine?
Yes, I did.
Because that one took right after Endgame.
I know, but you know how sometimes they like release movies and maybe like the time frame is different.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure I had the right one.
The director is the same director as Homecoming and Far From Home.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, those last two, I wasn't like disappointed in them.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't necessarily disappointed in them either. I think it's just like the issue when you come with Marvel movies is that it almost, you're forced to be so connected. Yeah. Sometimes, and I think that was the weakness, especially in Far From Home. And now, I don't know, it just feels weird.
I just hope they don't rush it, because like with all these characters, all these like, you know, big name characters and whatnot, I feel like that's a lot of info, and if it's just like an hour movie, that's not going to be enough time.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's harder. They do, and that's the risk this movie does.
It's gonna be Endgame level material.
It better be fun.
That would be dope if they could.
Material length.
But see, with this
part 2,
the way they set themselves, they put themselves in two risks. Where either they have to actually follow up with all the other Spider-Mans and sort of like a character development, which that puts the risk of focusing way too much on other characters, or B, it's something small. But then if it's something small, then why did you get us all hyped up with these cameos? It could have been like Jameson, which we didn't know he was going to be in the second one. But when we saw him, we were like, holy snap. So that's the thing that they put themselves at risk. But I don't think the movie is going to be bad. Like, I'm positive that the movie is going to be enjoyable. It just comes back to me where it's like, there's a story that they had, and they just took it completely different because, you know, they wanted to do this epic, great movie, which is like, there's nothing wrong with it, but, you know, you could have saved that, you know, maybe another time. You know what I mean? That's just what I feel about it.
I think it also maybe because of the situation that we're all in, like the pandemic is what I'm referring to. I think they're just, because Disney just released like a shit ton of news, and I'm thinking maybe they thought, I'm not sure, like maybe we needed this movie to be hyped up about Disney or Marvel or something to look forward to again. Because, you know, they got to release something after Wonder Woman's on HBO Max.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, cautious optimism, right? That's my approach. I'm optimistic that it'll be an entertaining and hopefully good movie. But if they only show me like 2 minutes of Toby, I'm going to be so sad. I'm going to hate the movie.
Yeah. I mean,
no matter how good it is.
I feel like that's because like my anticipation for seeing Spider-Man and Daredevil team up on screen is kind of just like it's nullified almost, because that's definitely not going to be the focus of this movie, which I want a movie where that is the focus personally. But, you know, it's disappointing on that level, and I want to be optimistic for, you know, where it looks like their focus is going, but I'm frightened.
That would have been really cool. That would have been really cool if it was just Daredevil and Spider-Man, because Daredevil is like one of my favorite characters too.
Yeah. I definitely don't think it's going to be a bad movie. Like, I'm 100% sure that even if it is like how much as I would hate a 2 seconds Tobey Maguire cameo, but even if that was the worst thing that were to happen, I still feel like they can give us an enjoyable movie.
Nah.
But
I mean,
hell no.
There are bad Marvel movies. Let's not get it twisted. Like, it's not like it's impossible for Marvel to make bad movies.
I know. I'm just saying that I feel like the Spider-Man record, like, I don't think this will be really atrocious. But again, it's just like, again, they set up so many players. Like, we even still remember we have Doctor Strange, which is probably going to be the reason why he's able to go to these alternate timelines. But we have so many players being in this movie, and it's like, the question is how they utilize these players, because if it's just like a plot device, then it's kind of pointless. But then if it's like a character arc, then it's like, well, isn't this a Spider-Man movie while we're going through all this?
Dude,
maybe
I swear,
yeah.
If it's like Doctor Strange sends Spidey to the other multiverses, and then he just like sees a couple of them, and then does something
All right,
real
time to
quick,
come
and then
back.
into a different one afterwards. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be exactly like Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I'm gonna hate
I'm
it.
positively sure even if they did that, they're gonna come back at the end. They're gonna be like, we're all Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think that for sure is gonna happen, where they
They're gonna be
collectively
that
come
moment.
together. But I'm wondering if they're gonna do the approach where like Tom Holland gets mentored by one of the elder Spideys.
They probably would. He gets one lesson for each of them because of screen time, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
That's another issue with live action, right? Is screen time.
Yes.
Because considering the amount of actors and actresses that are up there, that's a lot of money.
It is.
And that's different for animation because you get to draw your characters on there. We should definitely do a comparison video though when it comes out.
Definitely. Yeah,